We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast on this Monday morning. You believe this is the last week of we've been doing this for 3 months? That is crazy. But welcome to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. Happy to be here. And, basically going to go over the Grove Bowl today. But before we get started doing that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Vault Society. Now, this week is the week for seating priority to be locked in for tickets this fall. But up until the 30th of June, the Vault Society, they're offering triple points. Now, the big push right now is the Vault Society and that support, which is a 5-year commitment of support. Membership starts at $5,000 a year, and there's a benefit chart on the site. We're going to get to that in just a second. All gifts to Ole Miss made between now and June 30th will receive triple points. Red points are non-deductible and go towards priority seating. That's what locks in this week. And blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason, bowl game, neutral site, etc. You can find out what you need to do at givetoathletics.com, at givetoathletics.com. Again, thank you very much for joining us today. We had a busy weekend. It was a kind of a fun weekend for Positively Ole Miss, so thank you a lot for that. We have videos up towards 1,700. We went over 1,000 on just Facebook on one video. Our lowest performing video of the weekend, which would be like the last 4 or 5 days, is 700 views. So thank you very much for watching that and participating and getting your Ole Miss information. So thank you very much for that. Before we get started, I want to tell you that you can catch us at The Rebel Walk and at The Stephen Willis on Twitter. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. YouTube, Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell, subscribe, do all that stuff. You'll be able to tell not just when we're streaming, but what we're streaming about if you subscribe to the YouTube page. We also have other things on YouTube, like all of the press conferences will be there. We have the greatest games in Ole Miss history there. We have, the 2020 games on demand. There's more stuff there than just Positively Ole Miss. We go through and aggregate that as best we can. So it's a nice little landing spot for you. And we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Now, basically, on Twitch, we're trying to grow that as well, but that's at the bottom of the barrel right now. We're going to build up and lift up all of our platforms as we see them going. Right now, Twitter and Facebook are our dominant platforms. YouTube is growing as well. Got 3 or 4 subscribers over the weekend. We also have a catch-all site at Willis Digital Media. That's on YouTube and on Twitch, Willis Digital Media. That is going to get all the videos that we do. Everything that we do will be available on Willis Digital Media, so you can catch it there. If you like audio, we're on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're on some smaller podcatchers as well, but it would take all day to name them all. So you can listen there as well. We're on pace for a record month in the podcast world. Again, thank you very much. This is very humbling that so many people are going down this road and choosing this platform, because we believe in small videos. Now, we're not like the old 120 seconds app that became Stadium, but there is a belief that a reaction video shouldn't be more than 15-20 minutes. A preview video should not be more than 10 to 20 minutes. The POMcast is not generally more than 30 minutes. It's bite-sized morsels that you can look at and basically take in and go about your day. It's about not having a major time commitment, which is the major commitment we have now. There's people that look at financially and all this other stuff. The time commitment is the big commitment. So we want to keep this as concise as possible and get you the relevant information and get you something that entertains you a little bit. We're not here to waste time. We're just here to let you move on about your day. So thank you very much for that. This weekend, Ole Miss, avoid being swept by LSU. Our video down there, we have an instant series reaction with Chris Muller. That's a pretty good video. They come back. We talked about all of that, and we talked about the whole series leading up to that comeback. So that was worth catching. We also have a Grove Bowl instant reaction. If you want to catch instant reactions basically from me and Jake Evans, we do have that available down there as well. But you can follow those and do whatever you need to do on those. Today we're going to talk a little bit about things that I'm kind of excited about from the Grove Bowl. Things that I saw, things that, are definitely something to build on. If you look at the way Lane Kiffin did this, and this is actually quite brilliant, and nobody else is talking about this, but he removed a position group from the film. Now, removing that position group and coming in with, walk-on players or whoever's going on, that is going to change the film, and that is essentially making the spring game worthless, which allowed them to do some interesting stuff. They didn't do anything that's not on film. They didn't show anything. But with that position group being out, that has essentially made the Grove Bowl worthless film to opponents, because the game's going to change the way it's called, whatever's being done. Now, they had fun. They did everything they needed to do, but since that position group was out, that game is not a relative example of an Ole Miss called game. It was brilliant. It was worth seeing. I'm actually excited about that, because if you look at gamesmanship, he really took it to the next level on that. And listen, before we get going too much and I start talking about what I'm excited about, I might do that in segment 2. Let's go ahead and do the press conference highlights and go from there. Yeah, here's the press conference highlights.
Healthy today, which is always a goal in the spring game. Having a season of COVID, I just wanted to try to make it as fun as it could be for players, for fans maybe that hadn't had an opportunity to come that were there today. And so it seemed like the guys had fun. Matt played well with the top 3 receivers there until we pulled them. So that was good to see. And defense had some turnovers and played really well at times. So, it was a cool day.
I feel like we did a great job on both sides. It was kind of a one-sided affair, with the spring game. But at the end of the day, through the whole spring, I feel like the defense made a major step. And the blue squad took it today, but I feel like the red squad, we know what we could do. So I feel like we're taking a major step, and we got to keep on improving during the summer.
They didn't have the top guys when they were in there, which obviously, as you can see, makes a difference for anybody. But we'll watch the film on that. They made a few plays in there, and at times had some plays maybe where some receivers could have made them that didn't make plays. That would have helped them statistically. But just wanted to get them. Even I think they both were both teams at times too.
Really just a standard that we implied when we first got here in January, and we just took off with that. We, like I said earlier, I think it was another interview that we got the standard posted in our locker. Every day, Coach Durkin reminds us that we can't drop off. We said we want to be one of the top defenses in the nation, and we got to live by it day in and day out.
Yeah, I think once you lose top players, then obviously that filters through your depth chart, and so sometimes those guys, are with some twos, that are really normally threes or fours, and, that can impact. And we didn't have as many defensive people out, so, you could see that show up, especially, when it was twos versus twos.
It's gonna make a big difference because we really don't have a drop off. As you can see today, we had the one defense and the two defense, and you couldn't really tell the drop off really. So I feel like adding the depth is going to keep us fresh for all 4 quarters.
Well, I thought, Braylon, when he was healthy last year, played great. And went out of that LSU game, he was really hot when he was going out, and I think his average per catch was one of the tops in the country. So just good to see him make plays, and needs to stay healthy so he can have a really big year.
To me, it was. I like the atmosphere. Even I thank the fans for staying out in the rain. I ain't gonna lie. If it was me and it was raining, I would have went to the house. But them staying out and actually, staying to the end of the game, it was big.
Well, I don't think we probably were the biggest in the U.S. But our guys had fun. They had a good time before, and just trying to make it fun. And I thought that stuff before was pretty cool, and the coaches got into it, dressing up and all that. So I don't know, if I was watching, I'd say that's a fun place to go, and so I'd go there. Well, it's kind of a weird game too because things are mixed, and it's not just all ones and twos, and so it's kind of hard to evaluate that way. And then those top receivers, you really weren't supposed to really tackle, and that's why they were in different colored jerseys. So that probably made it a little harder to cover them. So I look at the spring as a whole that I think we're much improved on defense. Yeah, he's really unique. Does not seem like a young kid from day one when he got here. Very mature, and really good sense of feeling around him, what's going on. So I think he'll be one of many freshmen that play for us. I think so. Again, the most important thing is the product you put on the field at the end. The other stuff's good, so that's why we try to be creative with it. But if we can go out and play really well, that'll help more than anything.
All right, that is the press conference highlights. Basically on your screen right now is the highlights from the Grove Bowl. Thank you for Ole Miss Sports Production for putting that up as well. As you can see, it was a little bit of a downpour, and then the roster games that he was playing and things like that made it not really you can't really look at 11v11 type stuff. It's all about individual players. Matt Corral, obviously, if you go back and watch our instant reaction, he was one of our 3 that stood out, as he should. Now, if you look at Braylon Sanders, he stood out as well, but I'm not sitting here bringing him up too much because of really the fact that he was in a white jersey and he couldn't really be tackled. Now, I am really excited about Tyshim Johnson. I've been on him since December. And he has honey badger qualities. He just does. He's a super athlete. He's a stocky player. And as you saw, he was making play after play after play. It should have been a multiple interception game, but it was raining. He dropped a pick early in the game. But, it literally should have been a multi-interception game. Now, we tell you about this defense all the time. It's designed to, make explosives, the turnover plays, the explosive plays, things like that. And that allows him to, the offense to go on a little bit of a run. And that's the purpose of that, because what we're doing and what you saw last year when it was clicking was an offense that was really unguardable, because there's so many options in this offense. People don't realize that pass plays all have a run tag. Run plays all have a pass play. You can instantly do that, and you can make it to where the defense is never right. Defense is always going to be wrong and make a mistake. And, I mean, that's the beauty of this offense. I really enjoy what they do. I enjoy the tempo aspect of it. I enjoy the Lane Kiffin shot play aspect of it, because you're going so fast and it becomes almost boring to a defense whenever things are clicking like that. There's the interception by Tyshim Johnson, by the way. Heck of a player. He's got a future. He really does on Ole Miss's defense. But it almost gets boring because everything is so repetitive and so fast. And all of a sudden, the Lane Kiffin shot play comes into play. And it catches a cornerback kind of peeking in the backfield, doing all that. And it's just very dangerous. And they do things like put the wide receivers out too far out wide because basically you can get some space in the run game by removing edge players out there. And basically in the age of RPOs, linebackers and inside players are splitting the difference between wide receivers. They're not going out to cover him fully because he has run game responsibilities, but he's not going to stay in the box a little bit. So he's going to split that difference a little bit. So that makes a little bit easier box to run into, a little bit more running friendly offense because of that box. That's the reason you see that last year, even against Alabama, they were able to run the ball. I think we had 200-yard rushers against Alabama last year. So it's stuff that the next step is going to be a little bit more timing, a little better blocking. It's all going to look more polished. And once you decide what you're going to do, we did this on Boot Camp the Offense and looked at Florida Atlantic in year 1 and Florida Atlantic in year 3. And there's just a progression where you're used to doing something. And this is going to be year 5 for Lane Kiffin in this offense. So basically this is Lane Kiffin's offense. This is not really the Baylor offense anymore. He's kind of the heir to the Baylor offense. Him and Josh Heupel, maybe Kendall Briles. Those are the heirs of that offense. So it'll be interesting to see. We're going to take a short break. We kind of shot over our normal time. Apologize about that. But we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you about the things that are kind of exciting me about the Grove Bowl. Stick around.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. I tell you what, this has been a really fun show. I really like thinking back to the Grove Bowl and what all that means. Now, remember, in the fall, we still have players like Braylon Brown to show up, players like Tywan Malone. This is nowhere near the finished product. And like I said earlier in the first segment, Lane Kiffin did a brilliant job with his roster of basically making the film not mean anything. And I told you for weeks leading up to the spring game, it's not an 11-on-11 exercise. It's about individual gains. It's about making plays when the lights come on after an improvement period that is the spring. So that is what spring football is basically going to be about. So now, without further ado, I do want to say I am very excited about Tyshim Johnson. I've said that in the first segment. I've said that since December. Like I said, he has honey badger-like qualities about him. The only thing about him is going to be how he handles his business. If he does that, he should be able to grow and expand, and it just gets a little bit better and better. The ball seems to find this kid. And even in the Grow Ball, I noticed that. The ball seemed to find him. Whether it was a tackle, the 2 interceptions, one that he didn't make, one that he actually wrestled away and did. The hyper-competitiveness, the everything about this kid is something to be very excited about. Now, here's the problem. He's playing behind Jacob Springer, which is a great mentor for him, and Otis Reese at the safety position or star position, whichever way you want to do it. The free safety position is kind of being patrolled right now by A.J. Finley and Keydron Smith. So that doesn't seem. So there's a little bit of a depth pileup that you could see from him. Now, he's going to get on the field. I don't know how he's going to get on the field. He might be our 6th defensive back whenever we get into long yardage. You might see something like that. You move Jacob Springer in to play basically a pseudo linebacker position and insert the true freshman at the star. That's a possibility. But he's going to get some time this year, and he's going to get to play because the purpose of our defense is to be basically heavy on depth. So if we're low on depth like last year, it's going to be a problem with our offense because they're going to wear down. It's going to get tired. At the end of the Auburn game last year, you could just see that they were wearing down and that badness was on its way. And that's just because they didn't have enough players. Well, now they have a little bit more. They have a little bit more. They have the Tyshim Johnson, the M.J. Daniels, who had an interception Saturday. Very excited about him. One-on-one coverage, turned around and get the ball, made a great play. I mean, he's 6'3". The other side, Miles Battle's 6'3". There's a chance of having 2 6'3" corners on the field at the same time if they develop. Now, everything that we see in the spring is basically put up there with an asterisk. You can be excited about things, but you need to develop them more. You need to go into summer workouts, and then you need to, once July gets here, the end of July, get ready for fall camp. And once fall camp's over, you need to be good to go. That should be the deadline for the season. By the time we get to the Georgia Dome in Louisville, you should be ready to peak at a high performance level. And I don't see any reason why that can't happen. On the defensive line, they actually played fairly well, but you couldn't really tell much about it because of the running back situation. Like I said, it messed up a little bit of the trenches because I'm sure there was great kids playing running back, but it's not the big ones. It's not the Jerry Neely, not the Henry Parrish, not the Snoop Connor, not the Kentrell Bullock. Those guys, they weren't playing, so they were kind of left off. Now, the wide receivers with the one offense, I'm telling you, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Both in white jerseys. You can't tackle them. So that opens up the pass game. Now, whenever they were being covered, it opened up quite a bit. And there was 2 touchdowns to Braylon Sanders and 1 off a deflection to Jonathan Mingo. It was a big deal. And then this was the whole spring game. If you take those away, it could have been 7-6 or something like that. Something beautiful. And I mean, we were very close to that happening. And the film, as it is just absolutely useless. Anybody trying to make sweeping statements off of that video, I feel sorry for them. I mean, you can find a couple of players that stood out, but you're not going to see the true picture. I mean, the one defense who obviously played well, they're obviously better than they were. You didn't see Otis Reese. You didn't see Jacob Springer. You didn't see those guys making plays. I mean, it was all the two defense making plays, where the offense was a little bit the same, but the personnel doesn't match what you're going to see in the fall. This film's useless. Absolutely useless. If you're using it to try and make a decision on Ole Miss football, you're going to get beat come Labor Day 50-0 because there's nothing you can take from it. The thing that I got from this game, absolutely, is Matt Corral is there. The offense performs whenever he's doing something. Braylon Sanders played really well. Saw a little bit from Jonathan Mingo as far as him taking the step, which is important for him. Dennis Jackson struggled with fans in the stands. That one was a little bit concerning. The offensive and defensive line, not really much to tell about that because they were playing walk-ons at running back. The offensive line did have some problem blocking, especially the twos. The defensive line, that's a good sign for the defensive line. But there's not a lot you can tell from the front seven on either side. The thing that you can tell was at the back. So Tyshim Johnson made a play. M.J. Daniels made a play. I think Trey Washington led the team in tackles. I mean, it was young and it was depth building, and it's worth seeing. It's good for it. It's a part of a natural progression of the team. Now, remember, with the POMcast and Positively Ole Miss, we don't look at Ole Miss through really necessarily a season. We look at Ole Miss through basically a program. So a single loss, a single thing that is going to happen, doesn't really phase what we believe in. That doesn't really phase what we want to see. It's all about getting the program to the next step, and then whenever you see that the program can't go to the next step, it's time to make a change. But we're not going to overly get in on kids. We're not going to get in on coaches. We're not going to do anything like that. We're going to break in about the game. We're going to talk about it, and it's all fun and what it means going forward. It's not going to be something that we dwell on after it happens, win or lose, because I don't think people are very right. I'll just say right to do that, because this is a program and we're trying to get the program where we want it to be. One season cannot get the program where it needs to be. One season can derail getting the program where we want it to be. So that is the consistency that we're looking for. Alabama, like I said, they were down, but they weren't down. They were down to where we are now. They weren't bottomed out to where we were on probation in 17, 18, and even 19. So understand that. Whenever they hit their bottom, they were about after the Lane Kiffin Outback Bowl. There might be a bottoming out season, but they were always able to retain. Remember, they've never had a coach that hasn't won 10 games over in Tuscaloosa. So they don't really know what's going on. So we need to do things our way. We need to have fun doing it. That's the reason they're promoting fun. Ole Miss's athletics is going to promote fun. It's going to promote competition. It's going to promote pro mindset. And doing that, Ole Miss is going to be able to recruit at a fairly high level. I expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 10 finish up in recruiting this year. We don't really necessarily follow the day-to-day. We'll tell you about some of the kids and what they mean. I mean, I was in that world for 10 years. But we're not going to follow all the drama, because if you live on the words of a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, right now going day-to-day, especially when we're 6 months out from signing day, it's going to drive you crazy. It's too much drama. It's invented drama. Don't worry about it. Just do what you need to do. Provide what you can provide. Control what you can control. and let them do their work. They proved last year they could do it quite well, especially in a COVID year. Anyway, that looks like it's going to be the end of the show. I do want to thank everybody for stopping by. And, of course, hotty toddy.